Well, that's funny. Yeah, so guess what? I've been muttering to myself the past 2 minutes. I was just sitting here thinking, I finally fixed it! After 14 minutes of trying, and then just jabbered for 2 minutes, not realizing I forgot to hit the, actual broadcast button once I finally got it to actually start working. YouTube kept API failing, and I couldn't figure out why until I finally realized I was just going through the wrong door and managed to fix it. So now, welcome to our 500 subscriber special stream. We had a lot of fun there just trying to get it started. That was not good. Oh no. Okay, yes, it does all say that we're live now. Thank goodness. Because I've been sitting here trying to figure that out for a while now. It was a lot easier at Twitch. I don't know why this was such an issue. Someone did ask what our largest urban center was in the previous time, though. This is that 3.4 billion pop save. And as far as I can tell from what I looked into before I realized it wasn't actually streaming when I thought it was, is that it is this urban center right here in Zhengzi. I might be mispronouncing it a bit. But yeah, 652 size urban center with a employment pool potential of 3.4 million employees, because who doesn't want to employ several million pops into one spot that you don't even have to build up, which is nice. But yeah, so this is mainly our special celebrating that we got over 500 subscribers. Mainly just kind of a Q&A at the moment, but maybe we will kind of just drift off and play something depending on how time goes. I'm not too certain because I usually don't do that much streaming lately. I did some on Twitch and that was kind of it. So yeah, we're kind of just flying this by the seat of our pants, which will have been seen by the fact that it took me 16 minutes to make the stream work, because it took me 14 to understand what was wrong, and then 2 minutes to realize I didn't hit the live button after I fixed it. Oh my god. I was like sitting here the past 10 minutes wondering, why is it not working? Why is it failing? Yeah, don't do what I did. Do a test stream the day before, so if something doesn't work, you can fix it beforehand. Our urban centers are employing 119 million people out of 600. Wait, that's a lot of employment for urban centers. It's not even using the highest production method, which arcades do actually end up employing even more people than the covered markets. Because if you see here, this eliminates almost 1 million laborers, but the clerks and shopkeepers that are made is about 1.1 million for this specific building. Hi, Nev, love your Frostpunk 2 stuff. Any ideas for future Frostpunk DLC? Ooh, yes. We don't really, like, know the exact DLCs they're going to release, Trenton. But any Frostpunk DLC that comes out, I'm telling you right now, I will be playing. I do own the deluxe version of Frostpunk 2. So, the moment anything comes up for it, DLC-wise, I am definitely playing it. I am definitely going to be recording it and just displaying it the moment I have interaction with it. So it would definitely be kind of a experience the second it's up. In short, I plan to play it the moment I can. Just the moment I'm allowed to. And small fun fact, I don't know why, but when your construction pool in Victoria 3 gets way too big, there's just so much construction going on, they start to kind of engage in what I like to call mega projects. Like if we go all the way over here in Europe, they're just building another 25 steel mills in one state, because why not? That doesn't sound so bad. What was bad is the fact they decided to build about 300 paper mills in Shaanxi, because apparently someone decided they needed more parchment to write on. Giga Europe? Okay, so how to kind of make Pan-Europa here, Central Europe and all that. You first need to kind of be one of the tags of Central Europe, so Prussia and Austria are kind of the best to do this as. You can do it as the Benelux states. You can technically do it as France even, but that requires going through France's journal entry to get one of the cultures. And the cultures that you need in order to be able to form this, we have no interest to declare. That's stupid. You're going to need North German, South German, Czech, Dutch, Flemish, Wallonian, Alemannic, North Italian, or Slovene. If you have one of these primary cultures, you can form the Central Europe tag, which kind of puts them all together. France can technically get, I believe it is the Wallonian culture, from a journal entry, where it's expanding its borders. If you do that, you can form Central Europe, and the Pan-Europa title specifically is with the fascist state government type, where you're a corporate state with an authoritarian distribution of power. In this case, we did single party state because I was trying to knock out the trade union in this run. Because primarily, when you're trying to have several billion people, you don't want to increase the workforce ratio too much because there's only so many things you can have, so many things you can build before you kind of reach that resource scarcity stage, which wood is kind of having, but not really because it's not fully built up. We're not even using electricity yet for it. But we're definitely exploiting the Russian forests for all that stuff. It's very fun. It's a lot of wood. Way too much wood, actually. And speaking of which, companies, I've grown to really like companies in 1.8 lately. If you're very manipulative and kind of ensure they're getting a lot of the buildings, these mines can start really producing some wild amounts with some really high throughput. I have to remember it's throughput. A viewer corrected me on that, and I thank them greatly for that because I was mispronouncing it. And we don't want to be doing that. Because mispronunciation is not what we want to do. We're not even using the diesel pumps yet, which would make even more productivity and more resources because we're trying to exploit, in this save, we're trying to exploit all the resources in the world first, have all of those built up before we actually max out the production. And we actually have an awful lot of coal and iron left still. I think sulfur, there's just various areas in the south I don't own. And you might be surprised, but we're actually using the fishing company too for fun. Along with the grain company, just because food is important apparently to everyone's survival. I don't know. But yeah, this is, it is very, very nice. I'm trying to think of anything I could preemptively answer with this save specifically. We can also kind of tag over to Frostpunk 2 afterwards. I would just have to tab out and course correct it over to a save I have, which isn't too big, but it shouldn't crash. I think, interestingly, in this save, with how I kind of made everything, yeah, grain is still kind of like the staple food. Not even groceries is that big, because groceries is making liquor, but I mentioned it before, funnily enough, in this save, liquor prices kind of collapsed once opium was introduced. Everyone just hopped on the opium train. Which tells you how strong opium can be when opium is the one that kind of became the dominant power there. Technically, wine could, but wine is heavily restricted under intoxicants and luxuries. They're treated the same in equivalency as opium, but they're restricted on how much of that can actually make up your total consumption. Unless the pop has an obsession. If we're talking obsessions, that does change the math a bit, where wine does actually become a notable amount. But as you can see here, opium is still up there at 34% on this Occitanian pop. But that's kind of the power of obsessions there, where it creates exceptions to a rule. And I've seen a couple obsessions here and there. I think the Hungarians have one. Yeah, the Hungarians got a porcelain obsession in this game, so they really love their porcelain. If I could just find some of their pops. Actually, yeah, here we go, the farmers. Hungarian farmers, they just fit, like, half of their luxury demand is just porcelain because they're obsessed with it, so they just really want porcelain over a lot of other stuff. And obsessions are kind of very rare. 1.8's actually made them appear more often, which is nice, because in previous versions like 1.6, 1.7, obsessions weren't really appearing. You would just kind of have a lot of the starter obsessions, like the Turks are starting with an obsession of coffee every game. The Greeks have an obsession with wine. The French, Italians are wine as well. So you only had those starting obsessions, the Han with opium, unless they remove it. And you wouldn't really see other obsessions occur except maybe once in a blue moon. But now we are getting things like Indian cultures are getting obsessed with liquor, for example. We're getting stuff like that in 1.8, which is very nice. Although I'm surprised, getting into 1962, I was expecting to see more obsessions. And I am kind of surprised that a lot less obsessions occurred than I thought they would. But that's okay, because, you know, sometimes the dice rolls are just weird. I'm sure anyone who's played this game quite a bit might know how the dice rolls can be. Sometimes you have a 5% stall chance and it seems like you're rolling that the whole time for a law. I feel like obsessions work that way too. Sometimes you're getting no obsessions, and sometimes they're appearing within the first month of the game. And I would have loved to have continued to save. I said it in the previous video on it as well, but the pop growth is just falling because of overpopulation, because we're just cramming people in. West Slovakia has almost 30 million people, which is fun. One fun thing we could do at a later point is just kind of like knock off the taxes and see how high the standard of living gets for the economy here, just for fun. Now, I will say, if anyone has questions for either, like, Frostpunk, as I just answered, or Victoria 3, just feel free to ask. We might jump through different saves to show different things, but I wanted to use the Pan-Europa save here, because it has access to so much at once. It probably has the biggest access right now, where we can just kind of bounce through everything here, show all of it off. That is a lot of dye. Aren't we making a lot of this synthetically? We are, but like any good mega project, apparently they built up all the dye plantations in East Bengal while I wasn't looking. And apparently the opium plantations, too. Remember how I said they love their opium? They sure do. Speaking of which, Frostpunk 2. Getting all the achievements in that one was fun. Frostpunk 2, that is. As for Victoria 3, though, I don't really have anywhere near as many achievements for it. Just because a few of them are like the learn the game objective and the tutorials, and I just never really went around to doing that. I just kind of crash-coursed my way through the game. Probably more than I should have. But I've been playing it since the game released. It's been over 2 years at this point, I'm pretty sure, so that was fun. Day 1 release all the way to today's release. Or not release, the 1.8.6 update here. I will say political movements have been an interesting addition. I'm still figuring some of them out. They do tell you their effects, and then the supporting props gives you a decent idea of what's kind of factoring into the movement, like why people are joining it. And you can go to the overview to figure that out more, thankfully. So you can kind of start mousing it over. You kind of start seeing some of the statuses here. The bolstered effects, professions, urbanization, literacy. Whether you're bolstering or suppressing it, and various effects like that. It is still kind of taking that time to figure out, though. Because some of them are more straightforward than others. But I see, like, the farmers here being very reactionary just because of... kind of their profession. And then a lot of others, their profession doesn't matter, so it's just like really boosting reactionary support from the farmers there. So it's just kind of stuff like that to figure out. I know things like the communist and social movements, sometimes they appear and sometimes they don't. They seem very dependent on an agitator appearing to actually make them appear. The fascist movement seems to spawn pretty much all the time, guaranteed, if you get the tech for it. The communist movement, I've noticed sometimes I'll research socialism first and it just kind of doesn't appear. Which is a little odd to me. But that just shows you that there's still more to figure out as we go. Although the labor movement usually gets a lot more popularity. Hello, Space Pirate, and welcome! I'm having to tab in and out to kind of check the chat as well, because I don't exactly have, like, 2 different screens to work with. So you're just gonna have to bear with me on that as well. I would use the phone, but it is not cooperating, and I'm glad I just got the stream working at least at all. So we can kind of just answer questions, show things off, probably bounce over to Frostpunk 2 for a bit to show things off there. But this is just that really big save that decided it doesn't want to keep going. Actually, this save would keep going, it's just really slow and doesn't get a lot of enjoyment out of itself. Do company headquarters not give urbanization? They don't. They don't give any urbanization, do they? Yeah, neither financial districts. So you just have like, sorry, I keep saying that word. You have a 1.2 million people in this company headquarters with a level 117 urban center, and services are so expensive that this will never run out of employment, ever. Pretty sure people migrate here on a daily basis, and even if they don't, 0.74 pop growth is not bad actually. But I'm pretty sure the people working in this building have like no pop growth. Yeah, 0.1. It's even at the max overpopulation number. I know we could technically get more pop growth this way, but oh boy. You're the Kazakh pirate. Fair enough. I think the Wallachia Minerals is the largest company we have in the game. I might have moused over it before. The oil company is just funny though. I don't even know how they're selling this much oil because I'm not using too much of it. It's mainly pop consumption, ports, and railways. For all that oil, that is a lot of oil. Oh, our prestige is almost 50,000, okay. I didn't realize how large the prestige had gotten. I haven't moused over it in a very long time. Mainly from the GDP, 2,300 just to stay as a great power. Oh, that's sad. No one can be a major power, basically. Hello, Creeper. Welcome. We're just kind of bouncing through various parts of the world at the moment in the Victoria 3 save, while answering any questions that come up or trying to just preempt a few of them by going over things that usually stumble people, or stumble me. It's a lot of tea. I'm actually surprised that the average standard of living is 20 in this save, considering with old age pension, we're kind of looking at a workforce ratio below 25%. And then the average tax is anywhere from 24 to 31. And it's like, yeah, no, these people are fine. They're doing okay. But it might just be because the dependents demand less goods, so they don't need as much. Alright, there's a small buffer issue on my end. Let me fix that right quick. I think I know what happened. Yep, there we go. Alright. Let's see. There we go, all fixed. Alright, with that, we're first time streaming on YouTube, so we gotta kind of play with it a little in the background here. And the foreground. I honestly expected port connections because of the GDP being over 10 billion. I thought this would be a much bigger issue with this save, because port connections is just kind of, your capital's over here in Europe, anything over here needs a port connection, so the more GDP you have, the larger port connections you need. But surprisingly, it's not taking that much, despite having like all that American GDP over here, the Canadian states. Brazil's not really that built up, to be fair, in this. But, you know, you get a few million here, a few million there. It's mostly kind of like logging, I believe. Because someone's got to make all that wood. Why are the names of the sea and ocean AR French? Oh, yes, I can answer that very easily. That is because I am still using the French theme for the paper map, but I do have like 5 different ones to use. Like if we switch over to the Great Empires here, you can kind of see how that really changes the map. We're kind of now more in English font and all that stuff. And you can see the terrain changes are different. I kind of like the French one because it maps out a lot of the major mountains and rivers personally, which I do enjoy. There's also the latest one that they released for, what is it called? Pivot of Empires, which looks more like this, and the writing is in a lot of, I believe, Indian writing. I don't know the exact way to pronounce it. It does have some of the mountains and forests and special building locations as well. At least in the east. The west is probably going to be a bit different here because it is kind of based from India. Yep, and then there's obviously, what other ones were there? There's the Zodiac one that I haven't used much. Kind of gives you this background instead. You get some of the trees and stuff again as usual. And then there's the regular kind of starting paper map, which is what base Victoria started on, but I haven't used this in so long that it looks weird to me. I personally just kind of favor the French one. I just like how it looks with the ocean's background, and then you get all the rivers just kind of everywhere, all the major ones at least, and the various mountain ranges, which I very much like, and some major forests too. But you can customize it however you want. You can even kind of mix and match it here. Old Compass, Revolutionary, whichever one you prefer. And each one is kind of associated with its own DLCs. Although Sphere of Influence just gives you the Great Empires map. That's kind of it for this. And then achievements. These are fun. I've never done learn the game objective. At least I've never completed it. So that's fun. Speaking of soldiers, what is the soldier pay at this point, now that we're so far into the game? Yeah, that sounds about right. It's basically the same as government wages. How it should be, roughly. Except the officers get paid more from what I've noticed. It is cool. I do enjoy how the different paper maps are. Some of the DLCs in the game are good. Some of them have rightfully gotten mixed reviews for Victoria 3. But I've enjoyed the game overall. I have the full pass for it and got Pivot of Empires later on its own, I believe. Although I will say some of the interest groups, like the Rule Folk here, the Honest Work, just a 20% throughput increase on buildings that you're limited in constructing is nice. The trade union's industrial organizers bonus on manufacturing is good. But to be fair, manufacturing industries you can build up indefinitely. Like, if we want to build 5,000 paper mills in China, we can build 5,000 paper mills in China if we have the resources. But if I want to build 5,000 tea plantations in China, that's going to be a lot harder because there's only so much arable land to go around in the base game. Actually, how much is this paper mill paying? 16.8 average annual wage. These shopkeepers and engineers are... Well, they're affluent with modifiers. They're 28 base just because we have the health system. But this is with a 35% income tax. Like, if we just killed the tax rate, they'd definitely go up a good 2 or 3 points. You'd probably see the luxury spike a good 10 to 15% in market demand. Our capital? Yes, that would actually be Brandenburg because we started this as Prussia. It is our capital state, but it's not as built up as other regions. As you can see, it's only got about less than 9 million people with 24 million GDP. In fact, its largest production right now appears to just be glass, which isn't even using oil yet. Although glass has become more of a pop consumption item than construction at this point. Same with porcelain. We can honestly probably switch over to making more porcelain, but it's probably easier to transmute lead and oil into glass for pop satisfaction now than it is wood. But yeah, Berlin rules the world. At least most of the world. The parts that we control. The parts that we don't, we ignore. We pretend they don't exist. At least for now. In fact, speaking of pops, how are our... Wow, we have 10 million capitalists globally. Let me switch this over here. And the most well-off ones are the ones that have almost no one in the group. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, there's a few opulent ones that have some people, though. Kind of all the way over here. Kashmir. It's all basically one textile mill in the state because it's making luxury clothes, because some are and some aren't. That's funny. Try to develop it. Yeah, the capital definitely needs more development, or we could always just move it over to a different location. Like West Slovakia, just start. But it's definitely one that can be built up. It's actually very, very atheist. Speaking of atheism, I know I showed it off before in the previous map, but atheism kind of spreading here has been fun. It's been slow going, but it's fun. It's probably the largest group of atheism I've seen in the game. It's even gotten into China quite a bit. Let's see. I will say, if we did drop, let's say we dropped like all the consumption taxes and most or all the taxes that we have here and raised government wages, I'm fairly confident the standard of living here would probably hit an average of 23. Just because of how all the calculations work. I will say it. I mentioned it being at 20 was a bit of a surprise to me, but when you consider old age pension and then the dependent income, it kind of makes more sense than that they're just kind of getting a fair bit out of it. And there's so many of them that it manages to add up, and they're only demanding half the goods. So it's a viable strategy. It's not one I go for, but it's a viable strategy to develop. Let's see, this pop group is in fact at 22% workforce ratio, so these numbers are probably still fluctuating downward just because people are still dropping in that workforce ratio at a slower rate. What is our largest, because of all the projects they built, either that textile mill or probably this paper mill is our largest manufacturing building in the world. Honestly, I could have more financial districts if I just started selling all the nationally owned levels. Although there is a lot of government dividends kind of flowing in at 5.6 million. Well, if we did that, we would just transfer the dividend taxes. So that's entirely an optional thing to do right there as well. And one thing I did think on if I was continuing this save further personally is just to build just a ton of government administration in one area, just to employ literal millions of people at a time. Because again, apparently we can't have enough paper. Average wage of 7.6 in the country is not bad. But if you kind of mouse over here, you can get a better detail on why a pop group is getting the wage that it's getting, because the current wage and then multiplied by what type they are, like what class or profession that they have. It works well too if they're being discriminated against, but I believe we don't have a lot of those anymore. Most people are kind of second class or first class citizens at this point, and I think second class doesn't suffer discrimination or multiculturalism. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. It just treats them like full-class citizens, effectively. Just kind of at the same point. Let's see. I am just having to check OBS's health a little bit as well. Mostly because OBS, I have not streamed with YouTube and OBS before. So I'm having to kind of just monitor and track it a little here and say, hey, are you doing okay? And the answer is it's kind of okay, kind of not. It's at like a so-so point right now, where it's kind of okay, it's kind of not. 1.6 billion laborers. Oh yeah, that adds up. That checks out. They actually have 24% political strength. That's voting for you. Actually, wait. Nope. 148, so this has less buildings, but it's paying a higher wage. Yeah, average wealthy, that's disgusting. That's just disgusting. I am thinking we might switch over to Frostpunk 2, and while this is a Q&A stream, we might do a bit of Frostpunk 2 playing in the background as well. Just because it gives a bit more entertainment value, so we might actually switch over and do that for a bit. After kind of showing off the save here. Oh, you had the game. You have Frostpunk 2, right, Creeper? I'm sorry, not Creeper. Creeper. Don't worry, I'll get it right at some point. Yeah, I mean, we could tab over and show it off, because I don't mind switching back and forth since we plan to be here a few hours. And it'd be a good experience to have for me to, experience in switching between games. So I think, yeah, let's go ahead and show that off for a little bit, since this is meant to be a Q&A for both games. And I was given a few ideas from the Frostpunk 2 Discord server for 11-Bit Studios. Some people in there did give me ideas, so let's do a bit of a switch over right now. We're gonna kind of switch that over here. If I can switch over to game capture here. I do see that the chat window is not working for this, so we might just kind of hide that. I only now noticed that, so we're just gonna hide that. We'll let YouTube do its thing in the background. That way you can see the full stuff down here. I do have one save I'm playing with at the moment where I'm gonna try to get a stupidly high amount of oil, and I don't mind showing it off right now early. Because why not?
Here is
We're here. We may as well have fun with it. May as well show it off a bit. And it's a game I love playing. It's a beautiful game. I have it on such a high setting. Although this is on its easier difficulty because I'm mostly just kind of messing around with stuff, experimenting, and just kind of seeing how far things could be pushed if given the opportunity to push it. So this is kind of like the easy mode of Frostpunk 2 right now. But when you're trying to push things to impossible numbers, like 1 million people in the city, or like producing 1 million of a good per day, you do have to put it on the easiest difficulty because of the modifiers that are affected. Especially with shelter per capita and I guess to some extent consumption. If I had to think on that there, yeah. But it is an absolutely gorgeous game with the occasional protesters. Trying to not have a civil war for once in my life, but we'll see if that happens. Usually I just kind of beat them down and move on. Which is not what we need to do this time. But I'm happy to answer any Frostpunk 2 questions you might have as well. Because it is an absolutely very fun game that I can talk about for quite a while. Oh, this isn't expanded. That would explain so much. And then this is just frost breaking, just to kind of open up areas for us to utilize. Sorry, is that called Mount Mackenzie? It is. I don't know why that threw me off for a second. Take the core. Take the coal. I'm gonna explore whatever's there in the glacier. But this is just kind of the Frostland map where you kind of explore and you're looking for things. Supported quarantine. Can't say I like that. Got an idea. This is kind of the area where you communicate with factions, like promising them things to vote for and vote against in council windows. Is it imperative to get into that Frostland versus trying to micro all the problems in the beginning? Ooh, that somewhat depends on your difficulty, I'd say. I would say it is good to get into the Frostland because you can get areas like the coal mines where you can get temporary coal imports that only take usually kind of just a couple of Frostland teams. And if you make it a settlement, it takes more investment, but the settlements are indefinite in their production. And if we actually mouse over here, our regular coal mine's only making 270, while the coal mining settlement's sending in 600, but we are playing on kind of that easier difficulty right now. If you're on that harder difficulty, it can be more imperative to work on some of your domestic production here and there as well. But I'd say it's somewhat circumstantial, because when you get out here, you can find a lot of cores, you can find colonies, you can find various resources to use that just need your Frostland teams. I do think the Frostland is important, that you definitely want to get out here at some point. I personally rush it. Coughing fits for heat recycling. Power through heat recycling increases disease, or install filters. What is install filters? We're not here to poison anyone to death right now. Yeah, events are fun. Poison, I guess, but usually not for the one being poisoned. And then this is kind of some of the tech tree. I should probably show it off more, especially if any questions anyone might have on it. You also have your kind of your ideologies here with their own bars to fill, and if you fill it to the max, you can kind of embrace that ideology, but that does kind of close you off to the other side. And usually the progression you have there does affect your relations with the factions. So, and the further along you are in one direction compared to the other, the bigger the impact has. On easy difficulty, it's relatively easy to avoid civil war for a long while, especially if you're kind of dividing the city direction. But on your harder difficulties, it is a lot harder to keep people appeased. Just because they're all more sensitive to everything. That just points us over here to the material colony. Just kind of taking in cores and taking in people for the most part. I will say, where is that fuel colony? It's kind of pointing this way, so it's somewhere over here. Just wondering, because if I'm going to do that oil run, I'm going to kind of need a lot of production. Speaking of which... This is kind of an initial idea I've had. Another idea someone gave, actually, for Frostpunk 2 is trying to do this, but instead of having all the housing districts, you just have a bunch of, like, industrial districts with housing buildings in them, which could be a fun little thing to do. It could be amusing. Let's just force this through. With guided voting, which makes everyone upset when you do it, but, well... Someone's gotta make things pass in here. I mean, that puts mandatory crowding into force, which just increases the amount of shelter you get, but it does have an event later on where it will start to increase tension as well, if you don't do a certain decision. Well, that's fine. We're just using that to appease the two factions in the city. So, I mean, we don't need to care that much about the standard of living in a cold-ridden game, right? That's what I think, at least. So the game thinks too, though. I do like the addition they added where you don't have to frost break all 8 tiles. If you wanted to just do 7 and then do it, you could. It doesn't change the cost at all, but it's a nice little quality of life thing. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I can't repair the machinist relations at all. Well, having them join Legionnaires could actually be a hidden benefit. We'll see. Probably because of all the guided voting I did, right? Yep, it's all the guided voting I did.
Reason to fear the steward's militia, unless you are an
enemy of the steward. I very much enjoy the announcer in this game. It's very fun. Very nice to listen to him. And I know some of the updates added additional lines, which was very nice. Oh, that was the game not agreeing with me. Because I hit the wrong button. Heat stamps. No, do not care. We'll be fine. Yeah, everyone's upset with the guided voting. I probably should have watched myself with that there. Because now no one's happy. Guided voting can be useful in passing laws, but people get upset with it. Perhaps rightfully so, but, you know. It still hurts. Chemical needs progress. We just haven't really done enough progress. This can be a somewhat fun game of balance, though. Or so I think. I mean, you could also just kind of go one way and throw the other side overboard. That's also an option. Really is up to you when it comes to the politics of it. It kind of depends on what city you want to make. Because it's definitely easy to just throw all of one side overboard and just hard side with the others. But it can also be more fun to keep the balance between the two of them. Because of the guided voting negatives, that's actually really funny. And it's on the easiest difficulty too, so like I have managed to successfully upset so many people. It's great.
votes are in.
I actually love that. I did not like that. Alright, let's fix that right quick. Not had this happen in a while. Are we memory leaking, or is it just fine? It's fine, okay. It's actually not fine. It's actually very stuck. That's shocking. Huh. Okay. It seems like every time I play this game, I find a new way to break something. I really need to stop doing that. Okay, let me... It's gonna suck because we're gonna have to restart some of this, but let me task kill this really fast. Because we evidently broke something. It did not like that one bit. It is kind of funny to me that I did not like that. But we'll just get right back into it. It's 575 shaders now. It used to be a bit lower before previous updates. So I'm always wondering where that's coming from. Not that I mind. But yeah, we are going to have to go back to the week that I saved on, which is a little unfortunate. But I have not had the game kind of hard freeze like that in a long while, so I wonder what I broke. Everything, evidently. Yeah, so we'll play catch up here really quick. Maybe not use guided voting as much, actually. Wow, we really upset them. But just, I'll let them have their vote this time. Tried to guide vote against it very well.
Proposed law.
Alright, I just don't use supported quarantine as much because it does cause a shelter issue usually because the shelter per capita demand goes up. But I think we'll just let it slide for now because we're just trying to maintain balance and nothing else. I was gonna come in and check the mandatory crowding. I'm pretty sure if you change the law, it drops it from 20% shelter to 15%. I wanted to check it out and show it off. The game kind of told us no. So let me just kind of speed through these really quick and get us back to where we were. I'm very surprised that it crashed on us like that. Well, froze, really. We're the ones who kind of crashed it afterwards on Get Out.
Not make you
Shortage of space. Oh yeah, I forgot about this event that can trigger. So the subsidized housing block both have an event where if you have just not enough shelter, you can kind of get an event like this where you can kind of do nothing, which just upsets a lot of people. For the subsidized housing block, you can do it rationally where you get percentage of active workers. It says slightly increased, but if I remember correctly, I think this kind of bugs a little. And it increases the percentage of active workers for each subsidized housing block you build. And then prioritized families, you get increased pop growth to each subsidized housing block you build. Which is really funny. The dense one allows you to increase the amount of shelter that you're getting from it. But that does come at the cost of increased tension for every single dense housing block you build, which can create new problems. I think we'll just prioritize families for this one. I just want to see that there and confirm it. So we don't have any of them built except the first few, but it does say marginally increased here, marginally increased here. The pop growth is currently rising steady, so we'll have to build more and kind of just see how it goes from there. We'll just kind of encourage the initiative, actually, even though it's probably another wise idea. Mandatory crowding is now in effect. Alright. That at least resolves one issue that we were going to have. Do need to kind of explore down here to find the oil like I was going to find. I think the reason why the game's a little more unstable is just because I'm, you know, broadcasting and streaming a lot of this now, so it's kind of a little upset with me. Otherwise, it usually performs just fine. But it could also be because my internet, the new house we moved into, the internet is not as good as it was before. So that is something I have to figure out and get fixed at some point. It's not too imperative yet, but it's definitely one of those things where you kind of want to go back and resolve that when we get a chance. I do need to get progress up if I want to use the pyrolithic. Is this indefinite over here, the soil deposit? It is not. Okay. Just needed to ask. So we do need to find that oil colony so I can get it started. Well, that was not a effective use of frost breaking with those little areas I left. Well, that's fine. Subsidized housing blocks do take a heat stamp each, so on easy difficulty they're pretty usable, but when you get to the higher difficulty where you have less heat stamp income without certain laws, it does get harder to utilize them effectively. Take the core. But that doesn't mean you can't use them.
Addicted to heat.
Do not become addicted to heat.
All furnaces when...
Oh, the proteins are protesting now. That's funny. I just went in the opposite direction here. I don't think you can have two protesting factions at once. Same with the... You can't have two rallying factions at once. You only get one or you get the other at a time.
The delegates have spoken. The law takes effect.
Yeah, we'll just kind of set it up here for now. Do notice that our material stockpile is winning a lot right now. But yeah, like Victoria 3, I very much enjoy this game a lot as well. I don't have as many hours in Frostpunk 2, but that's probably because there just isn't as much to pour things into. But then again, Frostpunk 2's been out for less than Victoria 3, so that's probably not a good comparison to make anyway.
All city transport is running several...
Yeah, the guided voting is still such a negative there. It is a useful thing, but it does create some issues here and there. I need to switch these over, don't you? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, we're just kind of getting the cornerstone events. That's the ideology stuff when you're making certain milestones. Past some of those milestones. Another good reason to like make promises when it comes to the council as well with the communities and factions. It helps you pass laws or prevent laws, but also if you fulfill that promise later, it does boost your relations a bit for a while because, you know, they can trust you to keep your word. The 10 weeks funding for the liberated youth. Wow, we just passed that law. Mining complex. Military vaults. Those are fun utopia buildings. 10 cores once you start harvesting them. Oh. That glacier area is very likely going to be our oil colony. I recognize the kind of shape here. This should be the Broken Shore colony. That's probably one we'll build towards. And then this is just an underground warehouse. Just connecting to it increases the stockpile limit of resources in the city. Although I'm noticing we're definitely burning through our food stockpiles, that's for sure. Well, it's just time to ask for donations, which get increasingly large the longer the game goes on, I've noticed.
Please do not be scandalized by the liberated youth behavior. Their experiments pave the way.
And that one helps trust. The dutiful one, I think, reduces tension when you do it. For the two different youth laws over here between liberated and dutiful. Which are oh so fun in their own ways. I was gonna say unique ways, but I don't know if I would call them unique. Just their own ways. Oof, that's a lot of money. You know what? 2,400 foragers. Oof. That's a lot of people. Yeah, these law trees can be fun and interesting. I've probably gone through them more times than I can count. It's definitely good to kind of build your districts in ways where you get all of these housing heat bonuses. They are useful. Just to reduce the amount of heat that you need.
If you see newcomer outsiders,
Oh yeah, the free essentials law. If you do it like this, people just choose not to work. They become layabouts. Which is an interesting thing. You can keep providing it, which gets you more trust, but you start to lose workforce. Or you can get less trust, but not suffer the layabout issue. I feel like that's kind of an up to you thing about whether you want to be providing free essentials like that, or not suffer the workforce loss. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about that, actually. It's a good question to ask. We got past week 300 at least, so we did get that autosave that we needed that we missed the previous time. And anything, these little gold outlines you see here, those can become settlements, so those are always good to kind of see and note. If you can note them. We'll just take the people in, why not? It's not like we're about to starve to death or anything. We are definitely going to starve to death if I don't do something. Because I'm just letting the population grow rapidly. Without really considering the consequences of such an action. Good old whiteouts. I do enjoy the siren sounds as the whiteout plays as well. That's very nice. They've done very good with the music of this, as they always do. Now that we can explore now, though, we're kind of stuck here until it's done. Unless there's something we can just choose out here, it'll let us do that still. We just can't build anything or do much else until the whiteout's over. Oil gelling whiteout. Huh. Interesting. No oil for us then. All that like oil gelling whiteout and stuff does is that it reduces the production of the certain building, which you can see if you mouse over it in the top right before it actually hits. But chances are you're gonna find out as it's hitting. That's probably how it's gonna go, at least. Alright. We're just kind of letting things build up while we wait for the whiteout to end. But the music is absolutely great to listen to all the time. As long as you can hear the game, that is, of course. I know I've been messing with the audio a little background here. It's always hard to find that sweet spot. Still haven't calmed down from all the guided voting, have they? Nope, it's still greatly decreased. Fair enough. Alright, let's try to find that oil colony so we can kind of get a look-see into that. And also move some people out. They can't stay in the city forever, they gotta go elsewhere. Gotta make their own names and all that stuff. Not that I actually need to. It's just funny to think about to me. Oh wow, we can only get the pyrochemical oil extractor. I thought I would need more. Progress on that. Guess not. getting upset now. Really just having to use these heat stamps like bribes galore. I guess we'll build it just so they're not upset with us, so I don't have to bribe them next. They're not wrong, our goods are low in production. It is definitely harder to keep them both appeased and avoid civil war than it is to just go into the civil war and knock one of them out. That's a lot of stuff. Core, coal house, military vault. Oh, these are two different areas mixed together. I see it now. Ah, that Sea of Ice is where it is. Okay. That makes more sense. Ooh, oil derricks. These have a lot of oil. 30 million impact. And yet, you can still drain it all if you play the game long enough. Which is very amusing. We'll just do another promise past that. But yeah, if you have any questions for Frostpunk 2 or Victoria 3, or maybe there's a different game you're thinking of, because there are a lot of other games I have played before in the past, so you never know. You can always feel free to ask. Let's actually drop it to 15 on this. Kind of. Yep, that's the fuel colony, but I think it's connection points, yeah, over there. You kind of have to explore down there instead first.
If prescribed experiment, you have joined the vanguard.
Yeah, as the guided voting slowly cools off, they might calm down here. They also might not. We might just be doomed. That'd be my luck. I doom myself on the easy difficulty without even realizing it. Sounds like something I'd do by mistake. Landmark. More food. I'm trying to explore the surrounding area to make it easier to kind of map out and build a trail too. Otherwise it just kind of gets in the way. Ooh, experimental treatment. We can either basically do nothing or replace the chief physician and hope something happens. For a breakthrough on medical treatment. We will see what happens. Thing is, though, even if you make these promises in the council, if you end up, even if the vote ends up not going the way you wanted it to, you still have to fulfill it. Like, this law gets rejected even though we tried to pass it. I still have to fulfill that fund projects promise that I made, which is fine. So we can do that, and also, wow, they've been joining the Legionnaires for a while now. I see. All right.
The steward appreciates all your adoring letters.
You can have a protest and a rally going on at the same time. You just can't have two rallies or two protests at a time. It's interesting. Definitely worth noting. Ah, tragedy at the clinic. Yeah, that didn't work out. That's kind of an RNG event. If it works out, you get a permanent reduction to disease, like a small amount. Obviously, if it fails, people die. Which is unfortunate, but we carry on. More tar pits. An advanced shaft that we can just steal a core out of instead of getting technology, because who needs technology? A frozen herd to butcher. There's a lot of little points of interest you can find on this. It's very fun. Very fun. we'll do is kind of this. Then kind of bring it all the way up here to connect it to the main path. There you go. Probably not the best path we could have built back to the city, but it's a path that works and gets us some additional resources on the side. So it's got a bit of efficiency. Actually, yeah, take them in. We're just going to send them to the new colony.
Kindly ask.
No community service. We don't need that. Probably a weird thing to say. You don't need community service, or we don't not need community service. Yeah, that doesn't roll off the tongue very well, does it? Aerial smelter for materials. Go ahead and send those colonists now to get that started so we can at least take a peek there as to how much we have. Okay, we probably won't go on for too long. We are not getting as many questions as I planned on, but that's okay. That's why we've got Frostpunk 2 games in the background while we're going on. Well, I suppose it's more of the foreground right now, isn't it? Oh, they researched empowered management on their own. Isn't that that's a radical idea. Why are you researching radical things? Why would you do this? How radical of them. So is this the colony with 3? It is the colony with 3 oil deposits. That's good. Because we were really, really, really hoping to find 3. Because if we want to have true max production for oil, or at least get to that 1 million idea, we're going to need at least 3 oil deposits instead of 2. Because if it was 2, that wouldn't work as well. Ooh, sheltered from the wind. Unstable terrain, exposed to the wind. Forgot that they had changed up Broken Shore a little and gave it some additional modifiers that weren't here before. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll just let them. So that case, they just rallied at the money to build a teaching hospital all on their own. I just kind of said yes because, for whatever reason, every community likes that. I don't know why, but they just do. So you know, it's whatever. We'll just let them have it then. Oh, these all did not pass. Interesting. Or just still have to make up a good deal of the city, I've noticed. Can I just bribe them for almost anything it looks like? That can be something to look at, yeah.
The proposed law has been approved.
Alrighty. Just kind of doing a lot of this in the back right now. I'm kind of jumping back and forth between spots. Rallies begin collapsing. Well, that's not good. There's our 500-week save, which is nice to have. Buried village, another core. It's very fun to explore this map and find all kinds of things. And then realize the whiteout's coming. Yeah, oh boy. Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. thing we can definitely do is kind of start sending
We
people this
have
way,
once
though.
again installed a suggestion box. Central District's main office building.
Because why not? Why not ease the burden of the city by exiling thousands of people to a colony where they'll never have voting rights again? Because they're colonists. Sparing a baby seal. I think that's the first one that's supposed to trigger for the adaptation one. We kind of went backwards and triggered the last one first instead by mistake. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. And 40, lots of squalor. Oh yes, the squalor. I did forget about that. It is a potential problem. So let's grab this. Kind of chew this all up here a bit. We're just kind of setting it up as we go here while we show a few things off here and there. Because why not? Well, the colony just massively grew now, so suddenly it needs a lot more that it doesn't have. Oh, there was an event. It just ripped me over to it. I was about to ask what happened. Thankfully, it wasn't anything serious. More buried villages, mechanists, and more things to explore while we wait for the inevitable whiteout approach. Oh, the colony's not getting hit by the whiteout. I don't see it in the top right. Interesting. Well, that's a good thing, now, isn't it? What isn't a good thing is probably the fact that we're definitely not doing well on food. But it happens. You definitely need your food colony at some point, or at least later on something indefinite like Panaceums or what have you, or just something to boost the production. Because these are the advanced chemical hothouses. I mean, if you use the adaptation one, where a portion of the food you need is just made by citizens during calm weather, it's probably a lot easier with that by comparison to not using it. And I know that at best you can only find a single food outpost that can be turned into a settlement. The rest just can't. Which is a little unfortunate, but you know, if food was very easy to come by without taking any questionable decisions. The teaching hospital event where you can just ban students from the operations room or permit it for disease and tension. And also another RNG event that either goes well or goes poorly. Oh, I was wondering when one of them would start protesting again. It's taking way too much money, though. They're getting way too large. Man, guided voting is still weighing them down. Oh, I missed the forager demand. My bad. Whoops, not paying attention. That's never a good sign. Really is no downside to that Stewart Militia button. Which is a little surprising, but oh well. Yeah, apparently the whiteout is not going to hit the colony at all, though, because it does not appear at the temperature meter whatsoever. Which is a little surprising, but, you know, I'll take it. Take what we can get. Oh, I see that this one succeeds. It doesn't really seem to do anything. It's just kind of deciding whether medicine does advance successfully or in surgeries, that is, or if it just fails. In this case, it succeeded. Another military vault, and then we have a weather station that just helps increase pop growth to the city if that's what you want. You don't have to interact with it, but it is an option. Too much just yet because we're just kind of hanging out, but we're definitely going to be working on it. Yeah, where are my buildings? Oh, and right, yeah, that makes sense. There we go. That contains the squalor in the colony. We can go to the city now. Oof, city's gonna run out of food. That's not great. Let's kind of move towards that Panacea then. Apparently we're gonna need to start building it up. Overdrive's pretty useful, although the number here is updating at a slower time. It's actually going at 626, not 1100. Not sure why that's slow, but that's okay. What do I expect of the DLCs of Frostpunk 2? I'm not too sure. I am kind of hoping that we might get a DLC related to New Manchester or Liverpool. Maybe a DLC with the Winterhome survivors on the Dreadnought. Those could all be very cool. But we don't really have any specific information on what the DLCs will be. So for the most part, we're kind of just guessing and kind of hoping on what they might be for the scenarios that they'll put forth. You know, maybe it could be a game where we're on the Dreadnought from Winterhome trying to survive as we move through the Frostland, or it could be the aftermath of everything for New Liverpool or New Manchester after the seedling arcs. Things like that. It could be something entirely different, completely unrelated to Frostpunk 1 as well. Also, fun fact, if one of your colonies is not being hit by the whiteout, you can still send out scouts then. They'll just come from the colony. It's weird, but it's something you can do. I don't know why you can do it, but you can do it. So, keep that knowledge in mind. It's very useful. But yes, I'm not sure what the DLCs will be. I just know that we'll definitely be getting a new scenario out of it. And I'm definitely going to play the heck out of that scenario when it drops. Oh, I forgot. Yep.
List of obituaries.
Forgot to turn the overdrive off. People died, and now everyone's upset because of it. Man, this is on citizen difficulty. I'm trying to, like, balance it, and that greatly decreased from guided voting is just not going away. I'm sure we'll be fine. Nothing bad will happen. But yeah, all the people dying from the generator overload tends to kind of nuke popular support. Even on citizen difficulty, people get pretty upset about that. Which I suppose is a fair reason for them to get upset about, but this is what happens when you're not managing it as much as I probably should have. I'm just kind of bouncing around because I played this game so much I almost don't care if it goes off, even though I probably should. Yeah, a DLC around Steam cores and the ability to produce them could be fun. I don't know if that would then introduce a Utopia mechanic where you could just build Steam cores. I don't think it would, but I suppose there's a possibility that it could. It's an interesting idea. It's something that could happen. It could also not happen. Definitely kind of one of those things we'd have to wait and see on. Yeah, they're really upset. Hostile. Yeah, those deaths really upset them. Well, at least the proteins that are protesting it is.
Drink a full dose of Panaceum every day, even if you are well.
There we go, that solved the materials pretty decently in one fell swoop. Yeah, it's definitely easier if you just kind of eliminate one of the factions and go with the other one, because when you're trying to balance it and then you mess up like I did, and then you have just you just have the guided voting knocking you down the whole time. Because yeah, try not to abuse guided voting like I did, because this does not come off fast. It takes time for that to cool off. And I might have forgotten to note that. Oh, we have the guards in case anything goes wrong. Well, not in case anything goes wrong, it's more like when it goes wrong at this point. Ah, oil rigs. See, these are possible settlements. I think this is... yeah, because that's tar pits. This is called the oil derrick. The oil rigs can be oil settlements. They don't produce too much, but they're neat. At least the colony will never betray us, right? Probably not. Probably will.
Properly disposed.
But yeah, this is definitely not a situation you want to be in when the radicals control so much and everyone's angry at you. Ah, definitely threw that under the bus, didn't I? Although that makes it amusing.
This week's
Spoonful of Panaceum. Maybe don't eat Panaceum. I hear there's weird things put into it.
Hear ye, hear ye. The delegates have spoken. The law takes...
Yeah, we might be in a position where we're going to start just putting one side down now. That's what I'm thinking might happen here soon. This is just this disease, right? Yeah. It'll be fine then. Yeah, they don't like me, that's for sure. It's the conflict is brewing in the city now, it says. We are kind of pushing towards that civil war event. Last game, but New London splitting and others, two cities, one with Windrow and one of the city dramatically changes. That could be an interesting DLC, although I don't know if they want to do another DLC centered around New London and its history at the moment, because now so much time has passed. And I'm not sure how they would handle relations between the two different cities. They might be able to make it work, but I am wondering how you would handle it with a diplomatic system and all that. It's just kind of like proposing that there. I don't know if you could. They did try doing that with On the Edge and Frostpunk 1, and it kind of worked, but not a lot of people were happy with it in the long run. So it kind of worked and it kind of didn't. It functioned. Let's put it that way. It functioned. A lot of little event stuff happening, you know. The Night of Broken Legionnaires. Does paper operations give you heat stamps? No, it doesn't. It takes... Okay, I saw the plus symbol and I thought it was like giving us heat stamps. So no, it does actually take them away like it's supposed to. It's just a typo where it's a plus sign instead of a minus sign instead. To figure out where all the buildings are that aren't fully upgraded. Technically, dense housing blocks would have worked better because you'd fit more people, but disease, tension, I'm trying something different, etc. This should be about complaining with the guards. No, this is the increased alcohol consumption. That's different. But yeah, I'm excited to see the DLCs whenever they finally show up. I'm definitely gonna fail them a lot of times before I get them down. That's for sure. Oh, pop growth's still rising steadily. Maybe this marginal isn't as high as I thought it was, or maybe they managed to fix it so it's not as busted as it was before, where it would boost it up a lot. Could just be you need a ton, though. We're nowhere near having a ton. That's why I'm building a lot of them right now, just to see if we can't trigger it a little. Your colony lacks people. I can fix that. So it's just some good old-fashioned relocation. Oh, I see what happened. I see why it didn't work. I have to remember where all the menu stuff in this is, because I haven't played the game in a little bit. And I just canceled something. My bad. What's going on in the city? I keep hearing events fire off. Oh, I see we can embrace reason now. To form the algorithm. The almighty algorithm. Let's not do that just yet.
Beware of Frost.
Although we might do it soon, just because. Yeah, I see him cost 500, that's why it takes so much. I forgot about that. Powered management will not solve it, but that's cute of them.
All doors and windows regularly.
Hey, you see the population rises at a steady rate. Do it? Yeah. Yeah, why not? We can just embrace it now. I was gonna embrace it at some point, but I should show it off. When you do it, it makes anything tradition-based incompatible with the city, and they'll greatly increase tension if they exist. We have some patrol towers. That's kind of bad.
A city of reason.
Also triggers a dialogue event.
Reach for the future.
Then, of course, the algorithm. We could use it to increase pop growth, but we're not really going to use it for that right now. We're just going to use it to lower disease, because we don't want things to get out of control just yet. Not when there's a ton of people in the Frostland to still just bring on over. And if the other faction still exists, you'll get an event from that faction where they radicalize over the whole thing. Yeah, we're definitely having a civil war at this rate. I kind of wish the industrial districts would stay on what you set them to produce. Every time you expand them, they reset the prefabs, which kind of throws me off. So that can be a little annoying, but I live with it. Plenty of stuff in the Frostland to take, that's for sure. More events about alcohol. I'm going a little quiet here. I'm not sure what else to go over at the moment because we went over Victoria 3 a bit, we went over Frostpunk 2 a bit. I wasn't too sure if people would have additional questions or not, so we're kind of just playing around at the moment, just mucking about as we do, which is fun in its own way. Just kind of building up the stimulant manufacturers here because they are still a global bonus to my knowledge. Yes, they are. That's how we'll get the numbers really high. Let's kind of build this up now so I don't forget and build around it by accident. The Panaceums are just meant to keep us fed with food, but they do help drop disease as well, which can be useful in its own way. Misclick. Try to grab what cores we can. We'll probably upgrade the generator again just to make things easier.
Kindly ask rally attendees to keep all applause to a reasonable volume.
Well, I guess one of the DLC's named Aurora and one game called Metro X says the game is around a train named Aurora. It's just a wild guess. That is a pretty wild guess. I'm not sure what Aurora could be referring to in the end. There's a lot of possibilities with that one. It could be train based though. That would be pretty cool. Or like I said, the Winterhome Dreadnought and all that. It could be something like that as well, which might be feasible. I'm just not sure how feasible. But who knows what they'll come up with. I've got many months. They're probably working on it right now as we speak, to be honest. We just won't really know what it looks like until much later, probably like May or June, if I had to just shoot a shot in the dark there without having an idea. Yeah, this is fun.
Not contagious. Open your arms.
Oh, Merit's grown. Okay. I was wondering why that had been fired. It's definitely the game is definitely easier if you go down the radical paths and embrace radical ideas. So I would definitely say the harder version of this game is avoiding radical ideas and embracing one specific ideology. If you want a harder game. It would definitely make a lot of them more difficult than they would otherwise be. said I'd convince them to stop, but to be honest, we're just gonna beat them down.
Even in quarantine. One illness does not make you invulnerable to others.
Are you listening?
Here we are. We'll just kind of get this rolling. This colony just kind of feeds itself now. It doesn't really need outside support. Yeah, and more events when you send in the guards and they get a little overzealous, people get beaten, people get hurt. You know, fun things. What other games do I play? Ooh, it is hard to list all the games that I do play, because I do play a lot of strategy and simulation games, RPG games, some action games. Just to list off like a couple I played recently, like I used to dabble in Hearts of Iron 4, not so much now. I have played Age of Darkness. I have some Crusader Kings 3 gameplay under my belt. But that is also from many, many months ago. But also automation games like Dyson Sphere Program and Shapes. So, lots of games like that, Satisfactory, Ixion. But then Helldivers 2 and Hades 2, so you've got your roguelites mixed in there as well as just your shooters. Oof, what was the last RPG game I played is something I'm not sure on. Actually not sure. I've also played some gacha games too in the mix, just because why not? They were free to play at the time. So I play an awful lot of games, but there are also some games I haven't played. And maybe I should, if I could ever find the time to. But here we are. Oh, is that another modifier I missed? It is. Stable Cliff. Ooh, Stable Cliff. That's good shelter. Just sucks for, heat. Yeah, I know it wasn't too many specific games in the list there, but it was kind of like I play a ton of different games, so it's hard to kind of list them off. I will say, just to drop it, I have dabbled in League of Legends a little bit as well, but I just wanted some player versus player, but not too much. So you could say that I'm all over the place when it comes to playing video games. Here it is. Maybe we get that built now before I forget about it. I should replace that there. As soon as the autosave's done there. Waste repurposing to stop these pyrochemical oil extractors from killing the colony of squalor.
Please dispatch.
Oh wow, there is no heat here. I have not been paying attention. Oh dear. Might have been wise to pay attention to the city, maybe. Methinks. Just kind of quickly build that coal plant into this, and there we go. No one's gonna die to cold now. The bug of stimulant manufacturers still persists.
An extreme
It's not really a bug.
is
Actually, it does.
shelter in
It
place.
does appear to be intentional. The global effect of stimulant manufactories appears to be intentional, but you do now get an event if you start building too many of them. I have not yet seen the event, but I have been shown some of it from others. So we'll see if I can't push that to that point at some point and see it myself. It's not going to happen today. I know that much. We're not going to get that far, but we can see how far we do get. Ah, right. Yeah, can't population transfer right now. Really could use some more active workers, actually. But yeah, so as far as I've been able to understand, it is not actually a bug that the stimulant manufactories are global. It's more of a interesting feature, you could say. I don't know if they're gonna keep it that way the whole time, or if they're gonna change it. They might change it. Oh, we got rejected by a vote. Huh. RNG said no, apparently. Because I was really thinking that was gonna pass. I was sitting here thinking it would pass, and then it did not. Interesting. Music in the background is working wonderfully as always, though. Let's build a deep melting drill there. We'll just use this coal for the moment before we start using other stuff more permanently. Just as like an emergency valve because of the storm. All the whiteouts. Ah, the generator malfunction. Yeah, I keep telling myself to watch that, and then I mouse away, not paying attention to it, and then someone gets killed by it. I mean, we kind of recovered, sort of. They're not happy again, though. Oh well.
All windows opening, boarding up to minimize whiteout damage.
Yeah, so don't do what I'm doing. Actually pay attention to your generator when it's on overdrive. You'll have less deaths that way. A lot less deaths. Okay, let's try to pass that again. I negotiate with someone here. Also, yeah, when you embrace reason, and I think it happens with tradition too, your council hall actually changes to that type. I think there's a bug where it sometimes reverts, though. But generally speaking, it tends to stay, and it's pretty neat. I'm gonna try to remove some stuff here just to make room for more construction later. So we don't have to do it later on. There we go. Foragers are not gonna be upset now. Yeah, let's push this up to more of 70% of the population working instead of 60, which is wonderful to see because we definitely need the people. I kind of like this aerial angle we have going on over here. Okay, this is okay. Good. This is depleting. I wanted to check on that there. Oh, the protein fervor decreased because of good relations. And I'm really not paying attention to my city this time. That is probably not a good thing. Five 157 bystanders injured in protest. How many hours did it take to cram 1 million people in the city? Oh, that. I don't know how many hours it took, but it definitely took the course of several days, probably 3 to 4 days at least, maybe more than that. Because the game got a bit slower as time went on. It definitely took me a good long while to get through there. I want to say it definitely probably took at least 10 hours, maybe more. Because I didn't keep a recording or an active tracker of how long it was taking me, so I can only guess at this point how long it took. But it definitely took time. It took time, patience, and quite a bit of stubbornness. Quite a bit of stubbornness. But it was fun. I'd do it again. I'd do it again. I probably won't do it again until the next major update for Frostpunk 2, because I assume that's going to bring a nice chunk of fixes to the game, which will be nice. Preparing for war. Ah, good old Legionnaires.
Steward!
Try to lower their numbers a bit then.
Hear us! Steward!
You hear us, Stuart?
Alrighty. Oh, the Galician refinery. Found some of it at least, just the rest of it. There's usually more to it. Might be hiding. Yeah. Guess we'll find out. We'll just give visiting rights. It's a humane thing to do. The communal parenting law causing issues where the biological mothers want to meet their children, but the law technically prohibits it in its initial state. So you can either uphold it or amend it.
Steward!
Oh yeah, I remember this one. The thought correcting prison. If we let him go home, this man convicted of rape and murder just gets lynched if we send him home. So we should probably explore the other events chains for it. Yeah, some of these events can be a bit dark, but that's, you know, the end of the world for you. Not everything goes over nicely.
Steward!
Merit, huh? Speaking of which, the actual oil we're making here is almost 5,000. We're just burning quite a bit of it because we don't have the adaptation ideology embracement. Oh yeah, and then it goes here where you can make him a scatter deny his request. I don't know what denying his request will do. I think he'll just die, but let's see. Since the event's already firing off, we'll kind of walk down that path a bit here.
Steward!
Or the Legionnaires will cause an assassination and trigger their civil war. Okay, we will just go through that arc really quickly then. This won't be too hard. I know how to really muck up this. Yep, we'll allow outdoor detention. This kind of makes it a bit easier than it arguably should.
Please dispatch gift boxes to the steward by post to avoid unnecessary queuing.
Let me get some guards and I'll show you what I mean. Because now we can just do outdoor roundup, which they'll hate a lot, and putting them in outdoor pens means they will kind of start to die quite a bit here. But it also means the whole faction will just be arrested over time, and it kind of arguably almost trivializes the Civil War if you don't mind a couple thousand people dying to the cold. Which I think a lot of people would mind because it's a little heartless, but yep, there it is. Mob lynch is corrected criminal, that's what I thought. Yeah, and there it is. Detainees are going to die in outdoor holding cells.
Following the latest violence, red scarves and blue headbands.
I like the dark background you get when this all goes up. As you can see, yeah, some of them are going to die from the detainment. But I'll show you what we intend to do after they're fully detained, because we definitely have plans for that. Yep. Because now we basically detained about 24% of the entire city in outdoor pens somehow. You can then decide their fate. And not exiling them just kills them. We can rehabilitate them probably because of certain things that we have, or we can enlist them into the Stewart's militia. Which doesn't delete them, they do kind of get scattered along various communities. And that does kind of end it as the path of banishment. And then that kind of just ends the Civil War right then and there. If you've prepared for it like I was. You kind of just end it. And you can definitely replicate that strategy on harder difficulty levels as long as you take your time preparing. Yeah, it can be fun that way too. In that case, there's no reason not to start embracing adaptation and stuff because we have kind of pushed it off one deep end here. Yeah, a lot of them ended up becoming foragers. It looks like foragers are at 37%.
Some chemical food.
There's no way these laws don't pass now as long as the main group would support it a lot. And then that just kind of makes adaptation ready to be embraced. Which, yeah, powerful disease and heat reduction, it just nukes your heat need, and you can exile people if you need to contain disease. It will make these fancy windbreakers, though. Well, attention is now increased with some other issues. That's why we debated making fighting rings. Condemned faction. Ah, the bug thing. Yep, I remember this. Red Book. Oh god, it's called the Red Book. I didn't realize that until now. It's called the Red Book. Thankfully, the game will tell you if there's things creating opposition in your society, so you can start changing them around if you need to. To some extent, at least. To some extent. Why not a Bureau of Propaganda while we're at it?
The delegates have spoken. The law takes...
Steward.
Oh yeah, no. That'll cause casualties. The Apex worker stuff.
Note, a new rule...
I haven't heard this song track in a while, actually. I feel like you hear this at the start of the campaign, but I could be wrong. With New London. But I could be wrong about that.
Toes will be signed.
It's a good song, though. I like it. Oh yeah, the furnace is using way less heat now. It's just a fraction of what it was before. Nice. See, manufacturers do require a good 400 workers per building, though, so there's a bit of a downside to them. A downside. Also all the disease they cause, but again, you know, just working with a downside. Oh, the merit event.
Evacuated outpost worker. Report for rescue duty at once.
Yeah, you start to reach these points, the oil numbers are really starting to go up. Not by too much yet, nowhere near the amount we actually need at, but it's a start. That's why I wanted the pyrochemical oil extractors, because its base production is 750. So the modifiers really boost it when given the chance. That's just gonna kind of what I'm gonna be working on a bit here in the background for Frostpunk 2 for a while, just for fun. Just why not? And I think I'm liking streaming on YouTube a bit more once I work out the kinks, just because you don't have ads that interrupt viewers all the time. At least to my knowledge, you don't. I could be wrong about that. Twitch isn't bad either, but Twitch does have the ads that can get in the way unless people subscribe. And yet, kind of can't prevent that. It just kind of happens if you're a Twitch partner, you know. They have to make money somehow. So I don't fault them for it. Secret police. Ooh. In case you want to introduce another game to YouTube, what will it be? Ooh.
Votes are in.
I'm not sure, but there's a couple of games I've been thinking about doing videos on. There was a game there is a game a friend gifted to me earlier this month. That's a siege survival game. It kind of plays, I don't want to say it plays like This War of Mine, but it kind of plays in a way where you're having to survive a siege each day. You're the civilians, helping the defense by gathering supplies and all that. It's called Siege Survival Gloria Victis. That's one idea I've had. I've thought about maybe doing Crusader Kings 3 games, but I'd have to buy so much of the DLC, I don't know if it's worth it. Just because there are DLC bits I'm missing. I've played some Phantom Brigade on Twitch. That was fun to live stream. Might live stream that more, actually, so I don't think I could bring that to YouTube. Although I could. It's hard to decide, because there are some games I really love to play, but I don't know if they qualify, like, if they qualify as video worthy, like, if they would be, I am saying the word, like, way too much. What is going on today? I'm very nervous, I guess. Some of them don't feel like they would make good entertainment material for people to watch, if that makes sense. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of them would be really entertaining to watch me play, and I just don't realize it. That is also possible. Yeah, 5 cores. Let's just take the cores at the cost of a life. Because why not? I'm open to video game recommendations as well, too. There are some RPGs I've thought about buying and playing. Could also do different city builders that I've played before, like the Anno series. Or maybe pull up, like, some kind of small indie game that I've had my eye on that I get enjoyment out of. That doesn't get a lot of attention to it. Or maybe mods. There's always mods, too, if everything else fails. Could always do mods. One of the Total War games. I have way too many options on what I could play. It's actually making it harder to choose as a result. Well, thank you for asking. The only reason our population isn't growing is because I haven't been using the algorithm to do it. But you know what? Let's just use the algorithm. There we go. More people for the fire. Well, the generator, really. Yeah, so our population would be a lot higher if I had set the algorithm to pop growth right off the bat, because it makes your population soar even during whiteouts. And now that we have the whole Apex workers and only the strong prevail, our heat demand is just dead. It's just gone. Which is pretty strong. Oh, it's over. Excellent. I don't know why I didn't notice that it was gone. We weren't being battered by the winds anymore. Yeah, we'll just get people, relocate them to the oil colony, and just kind of build it up. Probably should have gotten more laws that improve the workforce ratio, but, well. I wasn't too worried about that. Definitely gonna build up a lot of that area though, because we are gonna need it.
A new shipment of mail has just arrived.
Ooh, mail. Doesn't that sound lovely? That stable cliff giving a nice plus 20 is very good. And I need to build this really quick just to outline the area so we don't build over it by mistake. With the industrial districts. It'll just be a little pollution, it's not that bad. Ooh, but I really should think of a third game to start playing on the channel. That could be fun. I know there's a strategy game sale going on right now. Maybe I'll just buy something from there. That's an option. Probably gonna need another colony for all these stimulants that we're gonna need to be making. It's what, 165 for stimulant manufacturing? So yeah, it's gonna be a while to build all of those. But the laws help at least. Just trying to see how high we can get these oil numbers, because why not? Who says we can't do it? Probably whatever numbers are gonna come crashing on our heads later. So we're kind of frost breaking out to this area right now. Definitely need to do more technology, but there's not really a lot of technology left to do that we need to do. There's some we can do for fun, but we don't really need that many anymore. It's kind of said and done at this point. Fuel Con is gonna have more people than the city itself at this point. That's funny. Didn't really mean to make that happen, that's just kind of happening now. How much does this take? 1,000 workers, dang. That's a lot of workers. There you go, double-digit oil. It's a good start. 11K. Oh, my trust fell below respect because I wasn't paying attention. Huh. Yeah, I probably should actually fix this now. Oh, are they both? Yeah, both progress and agitation are high, so they're just feeding each other now. Interesting. Usually I don't get the quotations as well. Oh, right, respected requires it to be very high.
Steward.
Which is definitely past, it's not there anymore. See, seems like a good time to pass martial law.
The proposed law has been approved.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure this hit's catastrophic. Pretty sure we need the fighting pits at this point. Well, they're called fighting hubs. I call them fighting pits because of the first game.
Steward.
Law has passed in the council. Take heed.
It's a very interesting scenario with subsidized housing blocks are causing all the tension still because of, because merit's so high. It's an interesting conundrum I put myself into without meaning to. And yet it's kind of funny at the same time. Feels like you always learn something new about this game. Or just realize you can really mess it up at the last moment without realizing. But a couple of fighting hubs will solve it. Oh, I deleted one. Oh well. Yep. All it took was a few fighting hubs and it's resolved. Wow, that resulted a lot better than I thought it would. Shows you how good those hubs can be. You know, but this has been fun. We might end it a little early just because we're not getting as many questions as we planned on. But this has gotten me a lot further along the other plans that I was working on in the background that I'm kind of showing off here now. It's only at 13K. I'd like to get this number to 1 million, just producing 1 million oil from one colony. I think that would be hilariously fun. But that is going to require awful lot of stimulant manufactories, which I can do. It's just not... It's not gonna be quick. It's gonna take a while. And I know there was a bug where the rail hubs were kind of doing a bit of a weird global bonus themselves as well. But to my understanding, they have since patched that. It no longer has its global effect. It just has a regular effect like it's supposed to. Yeah. Yeah, it is patched. There was a bug that made the rail hubs global by mistake, which was pretty funny. Led to a massive sprawl of rail hubs everywhere, though, which was probably not good for game performance now that I think about it. But oh boy, was it funny. Well, it's making almost 15K if I don't account for the requirements. That makes it look a lot better. Yeah, that's good. Well, the doggos are awake. In a year, who do you see yourself? Or maybe you meant like, where do I see myself? I got no idea, man. I got no idea. We're kind of mostly just doing it for fun. Oh, the snowplows are going by. I'm kind of just doing it for fun, but hopefully just bigger, I guess. Just doing fine in a year. I mean, I was asked that question almost 2 years ago at my first job, and... Well, first and only job, I guess I should say. And now, I mean, look at about 2 or more years later, here we are with a YouTube channel with over 500 subscribers. That's very slowly growing, despite everything. Which, 2 years ago, I didn't think would be happening at all. I didn't think I'd be doing this 2 years ago. And yet here we are. Which is pretty awesome on its own. It's pretty awesome. I think we might go ahead and leave it here for the live stream for today. because I do need to eat something for the day, and the dogs are going to need their own food as well. We have been going for over 2 hours, which is over half of the time we planned, which is good. That's good, especially considering we had the initial hiccup where things did not work. Oh god, that was terrible. That was a good, like, 14 minutes of scare time. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you to anyone who watches it after the recording. And if there are any questions you do have that maybe you didn't get the time to answer, maybe you just couldn't arrive at the time, do feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer. This has been Frostpunk 2 and Victoria 3, along with our first post, live stream, video, however you want to call it, after surpassing 500 subscribers. And, you know, here's hoping that we keep growing and keep going and just slowly get further and further while having fun with one another. So until next time, I will see you